saw a distant look in someone's eye today. Perhaps their eyes were on Aleppo. A Coloradan asked us to consider what's happening to his family and consider what passes for problems in our lives. Denver's more crowded than ever, right? What if that's wrong? And we can prove it. Colorado's best-known cold case is headed in a new direction after an issue we raised here. As our state's electors threaten an anti-Trump revolt, perhaps it's worth examining how we ended up with these people in the first place. And this suspicious-looking, yet somewhat familiar guy in an alleyway wants to have a word with you about fake news. But next begins in Aleppo, a world away and right around the corner, where a Metro State student named Obaid Kafo sits in his family's restaurant in Denver and wonders whether the world really cares about the people he loves.
This is family I only met once in my entire life. I spent 18 years never knowing about them, and finally had the chance to meet them. And then less than a year and a half later, executed, killed, murdered in the street, burned alive in their apartment. And to know that I could not have done anything. I have tried so much to get my family out of the circumstances that they are in. These are normal people. They're not officials, they're Joe Schmo, they're Joe the plumber, and they're being killed for no reason. I hope people will realize that we have it so good in this country. No matter how bad it is, no matter how much turmoil we may have, no matter how much you disagree with Kanye West hanging out with Donald Trump in his building, those are our problems in this country. You're not worried if the government's going to come in and shoot you alive. You're not worried about your child going to school and being killed by the same military and law enforcement that is supposed to be protecting and serving its community. That's what we're not realizing.
Obaid Kafo speaking to us from his family's restaurant, the Shish Kebab Grill, Colfax and Grant in Denver. Key players in the JonBenet Ramsey murder investigation have been meeting recently, and in a few days it will be 20 years since JonBenet was discovered dead in Boulder. Police, prosecutors, and the CBI have been discussing developments, including the questionable DNA results recently unearthed by our 9 Wants to Know team in the Boulder Daily Camera. District Attorney Stan Garnett said today that our findings show the need for updated testing on that evidence. Our new review indicated that the DNA found in JonBenet's underwear was not from a single person. Experts tell us that those 2008 DNA results should never have been used to exonerate the Ramsey family.
We should be doing all reasonable testing that we can do, and we will be, for all the reasons that you guys talked about in your previous report and the changes in DNA testing. What I'm confident of is that the Ramsey case is more than a DNA case. And to ever have a prosecutable case, we have to have several different parts of it come together.
The DA's comments today are worth noting, if only because investigators have said so little during the flood of media coverage around the 20-year mark since JonBenet's death. And we'll get into the DA's comments more tonight at 9 and 10. Aurora is currently looking for contributions as it designs a memorial to the victims of the movie theater shooting. All you need to give is your creativity. City's looking for ideas. It does not have to be a traditional art piece or a sculpture, but it needs to be something that can withstand the elements. It'll be outdoors at City Hall near East Alameda and Chambers. The next section on 9news.com has details on how you can connect your idea for a memorial with city leaders. Ain't no party like a faithless elector party, because a faithless elector party don't bind. And tonight, a second judge told Colorado's rogue electors that they must vote for Hillary Clinton because Coloradans did. Some of these electors have accidentally found themselves in a front row seat to history. Kind of seems like you stumbled backwards into being an elector.
Yeah, I absolutely did. Okay. I didn't know what I was. I just signed up the paperwork and I was asked to run, and that's exactly why I signed up the paperwork, in case no one else would do it.
Remember that guest on next? Michael Baca from Denver is the one leading this revolt. We gave politics guy Brandon Ritteman 60 seconds to explain how a formality in past elections became a flashpoint this time.
Colorado's 9 electors meet here in the governor's office on the first floor of the Capitol. It's a one-day job. They meet at high noon Monday, or as the law puts it, the first Monday after the second Wednesday in the first December following their election. First thing they'll do is take an oath of office, then vote on an open ballot. State law requires them to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
Because she won the popular vote in Colorado. Some of the electors plan to break that law and vote for someone else as part of a bigger long-shot plan to deny Donald Trump the White House. The state plans to replace any elector who tries that, and that would be sad because they'll lose out on that fat paycheck the electors get. $5 whole and 15 cents a mile to get to and from the Capitol. How do you get this fancy gig? Well, you gotta run for it at the state party conventions. And back then, they had to sign a promise to follow Colorado law and vote for the winner of the popular vote. A fact that really hasn't been helping them as they try to convince a judge to block that law now. For Next, I'm Brandon Rittiman.
Even when it's delayed, the A line is faster than taking the highway sometimes. Saying this city is a little crowded might be the understatement of the decade. But saying it's more crowded than ever is actually an overstatement.
If you've ever been stuck in traffic on I-25 during rush hour or, Saturday afternoon or something, you've said it. This place is getting too crowded. But it may surprise you to know it's not as crowded as it once was, at least the city of Denver.
We're less dense today than we were in 1950.
David Gaspers would know. He's the principal city planner in Denver.
The Denver region has grown, especially the suburbs have really taken on a lot of that additional population.
And he gave us these maps that show population density from 1950 and 2014, the latest data they have. Look at the difference in density. The bluer, the denser. Back in 1950, Denver had nearly 10 people per acre. In 2014, that number was closer to 9. Keep in mind, too, the city limits have grown by almost 100 square miles since then. So why does it seem so jam-packed? Maybe the answer lies in your search for a parking space.
There was probably about 3 people for every car in Denver in 1950, and today it's closer to a 1-to-1 ratio.
Just about 1 car for every person in Denver City proper. Think about it. 1950 was the end of the streetcar era. You didn't really need a car to get from point A to point B in the city. Which brings us to the reason for all of these maps in the first place. The city is trying to plan for the future.
If we are going to continue to see growth within Denver and Central City Denver in particular, we need to think about our local transit options going forward.
So, just like pretty much every other American city, people here started leaving the city and heading to the burbs in the 70s and 80s. And so RTD did a lot of transit planning on getting those folks from the suburbs to downtown. Now the focus will have to turn to inner city transit.
Steve Stager reminding us it's sweater weather. May I make a recommendation, a nod to something that is not ours but is worth your time. There is a professor at DU who thinks
that's what we've seen, a big migration of ideas and people coming to Colorado, trying new things, and it's become a real hotbed of innovation, both what you might see as a member of the community walking around and seeing storefronts, but I think a lot also in the back end, right? The cultivation side and the testing and product manufacturing, most of that is hidden to most of us as citizens, but there's a lot going on in those areas, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that the rules were set up in a way that made it a favorable place to try these things.
I rudely interrupted that gentleman, who is the professor from DU, who has issued an authoritative study on the state of the marijuana industry in Colorado. Found out that there are 2,913 active licenses. If you compare that to back when we had medical marijuana just a few years ago, it is an increase by 70%. Fellow nerds, I would recommend that you dig into the actual study. It is very interesting reading if you care about this sort of thing. And we have a link in the next section on 9news.com.
I'm sure the criminal just meant to steal a car, not do anything truly terrible, like what he did.
We really need it. Please, we really need our car back.
Your 12 fails of Christmas will provide a much-needed smile today. Becky Ditchfield sees more snow than smiles in the forecast. And either you people know a lot about Jackass Hill, or you're all talking out of your backsides.
You thought we weren't going to do it. You thought we forgot. We'd leave you wondering whether the train to the plane is working today. It sort of is working. Delays of 15 to 20 minutes earlier. Operational issues. A-Line's back on schedule at this point. This next story is not about a police officer in trouble or a teacher who got caught cheating or a nurse stealing drugs. This next story is about a public servant doing the right thing. You know, like 99% of them do every single day and never make the news for it. They are the good ones. And they're almost all good ones. 10 police officers who spent their morning at Presbyterian St. Luke's today. Denver and Aurora police officers came armed with homemade quilts for the oncology patients. Each quilt took 15 hours to make, a few minutes to deliver, and left a lasting impact for those patients. This is the work of a group called Cops Fighting Cancer, founded by APD Officer James Seneca, the gentleman who's kneeling right there.
If you've been paying attention to the weather at all the last couple of days, you know we've been talking about 2 cold snaps that are headed our way. And the first one starts to arrive tonight. Mostly clear skies are covering the Denver metro area. And as we head into tomorrow, that cold air is going to settle in. Plus, we're going to see some snow in our mountains. Not a lot of snow here, but mountain areas have a winter weather advisory in effect. That goes in effect tonight from midnight and lasts through 9 a.m. Thursday. If you're north of I-70, 6 to 8 inches of snow headed your way, 5 to 8 for places like Vail, Snowmass, Eagle, and Crested Butte. That snow picks up shortly after midnight and continues into tomorrow afternoon. We'll get a flurry or two, but no major accumulation here in Denver. Our overnight lows will drop to 12 tonight, 13 for Greeley, 13 for Fort Collins. Of course, the bigger story is how cold we get. Look for mostly clear skies tonight and winds out of the north, then highs tomorrow only reaching 24. We'll bounce right back into the 50s Thursday and Friday, and then another big cold snap Saturday with a high of only 9. Of course, Kyle, though, my bigger concern is those poor folks who have to endure temperatures in the teens for the Broncos game. I don't know how they're going to stay warm.
Yeah, what an utter shame for those folks. Thank you, Becky. Come back to Next anytime.
Thanks.
The Denny family's car is not particularly nice, but it gets them where they need to go and where they will need to desperately go soon. They sat down at their home in Denver today to share their story.
Her name's Phoebe, and it just fits her personality. She's always really sweet to me. It's a Subaru Outback wagon, white, 97.
Tinted windows. To think that somebody would see a car that clearly is handicapped and take it is just, I can't imagine somebody would do that.
We need the car for so many things other than going to the store. My husband's on a double lung transplant list.
I have end-stage COPD, and without the lung transplant, I will probably die within a year.
When they call, we've got to get there as soon as possible. There's a small window of time between when the lungs are good and when they're not.
Without it, I could miss my transplant. If I miss my transplant, I die. And if they call and we tell them, you know, we're going to try to get there, they'll say, don't come. They'll say, we'll pass them on to somebody else. And then, who knows, I might get thrown off the list, I might get put way down on the list, or I might have to wait another 6 months, which might be too long. Bring it back and park it in front, and we won't say anything.
I know you're desperate to have taken that car. We really need it. Please, we really need our car back.
We know the people who watch this show are creative and generous, which is why we've included some information on how to connect with the Denny family in this story on the next section at 9news.com.
Consider where you get your news these days. Jeremy Hohola wonders if we aren't essentially buying it off a shady guy in a back alley. The spirit of the season is seriously bent with some of you people watching next. And we learn generations of Coloradans have hauled their ass up this hill.
That was your moment of Zen for the day, and it's a next question. Can you get an Uber with a car seat in Denver? Very practical question, came from a next viewer and a parent. Short answer, not in Denver. There is an Uber car seat program in bigger cities like New York. Instead of requesting an Uber X or a black car, you request a car seat. It does come with a car attached to it and a driver and a $10 surcharge. If you want to ride an Uber in Denver with your kids in car seats, you have to bring along those car seats, and Uber couldn't tell us when that feature is coming to town. Let's traipse once more up Jackass Hill, shall we? Our story last night brought in a stack of mail from people who grew up in that area of Littleton, knew all kinds of fun facts, like that the city donates Jackass Hill road signs to auction off for charity. They get about $500 a piece. And that might just keep some of those signs from getting stolen. And yes, the Jackass Hill Ski Patrol is a real thing, and there is proof of that in the Littleton Museum. Apparently it's a joke with the neighborhood association. And you sent us these great awkward family photos, including the folks with the real jackass on Jackass Hill. There's been a bunch of talk about fake news lately, most very serious. It's a serious issue, but Jeremy Hohola has a different way to look at how we are getting our information these days.
I got news for you.
How to spot fake news.
Come here. These leaks are full of articles you know are true. Outrageous reports to confirm your bias.
Awesome. I'm gonna prove all my friends on Facebook wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. First, look at the link. Does it seem weird?
Wait a minute. abcnews.com.co.
This fake news site features an article about Obama banning the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem. Read beyond the attention-grabbing headline and try to find official sources in the article. This article quotes a dolphin. Yes, a dolphin.
Come on, this can't be true.
Google the issue. See if you can find other articles. Likely you'll come across sites like factcheck.org that debunk fake news.
Well, I mean, this is for fun. I'm trying to make some money off of the ad revenue and your gullibility.
Whatever, man. No thanks.
Stop retweeting, stop sharing, start thinking.
We'll share more of your family's holiday fails next, and something called seasonal incontinence, even with all the prescription drug ads and nightly news. Never heard of that one. It's a sign, and it's a good one if you're into potty humor. Next viewer named Maureen Allen spotted this in Golden at a Walgreens. So this would appear to be a seasonal incontinence section. Or perhaps just the seasonal items on the one side and the incontinence items on the other. Maureen politely wrote, "Did not know it could be seasonal." We're with you, Maureen. We are with you. Send us the signs that make you laugh or think. Email next@9news.com or use the hashtag HeyNext.
We'll pass on chasing the gaudiest holiday light displays in town or the picture-perfect holiday scenes. It's the thought that counts. And we love how Next viewers think about celebrating the season. Jennifer Easthope admits her family's weird, and they've been known to have a few adult eggnogs while decorating. And after knocking off a few snowman heads while frosting, the Christmas cookies went in a dark direction. There is nothing dark about John Stevenson's bright and shining Christmas tree. He tells us he found it in the crawl space under his house in Milliken. The old box said $9.95. It's valuable now, John. It's vintage. As they say around the Stevenson place, Merry Classic Christmas. It's the thought that counts. Email your family's holiday fail next@9news.com or use the hashtag HeyNext.
I want that tree. I'm telling you, that is good looking. Boy, your feedback just warms our hearts tonight. Don writes, Kyle Clark is the worst. Scott says, Kyle Clark is a liar. Mark writes, Kyle Clark is horrible. But it's all redeemed by Dwight Nelson's email. Dwight writes, if the A-line train runs every 15 minutes and it's running 15 minutes late, is it on time?